because I have a lot to share with you, so I'll be like, and you might not ever get what you came here for, which is possible. I don't want that to happen. So if I don't cover something that I really want to talk about, and usually us girls, we can just like raise our hands and ask questions, and I'm good with that. But if you're more comfortable putting your question on the little piece of paper, no names, and then we could just collect them. This way, before we go home tonight, we can just discuss that with each other, okay? Because for me, I think that's really important. So, okay. So on Thursday night, we talked to you a little bit, and I want to tell you what my husband is going to talk to your husbands about. And how many of you have husbands over there? Okay, so about half of you. My husband, I have to tell you, we've been married for 41 years. The first 20 were pretty rough. We were learning. The last 21 have been phenomenally awesome. Okay? And I don't even remember the first 20 because the last 20 have been so awesome. Okay? So I want to encourage you. Men do have the ability to learn. Usually when they learn, they're quick learners. Okay? When the revelation comes and the light goes on, something really happens to them. It's the way they're wired. So I want to give you a lot of encouragement and a lot of hope. In the first couple of years that we were married, things were really rough. And my dad would tell me, come home. You know, just come home. And I'm glad I never went home. I'm glad I never gave up. I'm glad that I stayed there and stood, you know, just stayed in the marriage, in the relationship, because he turned out to be awesome, like the best husband. So he's going to speak to your husbands about the last 20 years and how to be the best husband that you can possibly be. And he's going to tell them all, the onus is on them. So I'm telling you that ahead of time. Okay? So I'm going to talk to you. We're going to have good, straight, clear communication tonight. But I want you to know that ahead of time. What they're hearing in there is awesome. You would be like standing on top of your chair screaming. You know? Because when he got the revelation that he is the gardener, and I am the garden, and whatever is being produced out of his garden is what he planted. And so if you want a different result, then you got to put in a different seed. And when that revelation came to him, our whole marriage changed. And I'm just going to tell you this. One of the first things he's going to tell your husbands is, what if the only purpose that you have on the planet is to make the woman that you chose happy for the rest of her life? What if that's your only purpose? Is that enough for you? Imagine. Okay? Imagine. Because he got that revelation. And so, what I want to share with you tonight, we really have lived. We've learned a lot of it the hard way, and you don't have to learn it the hard way, especially for you young girls. I love teaching the young people because we have really learned some things that really and truly work. And if you change your mind now and start out right, oh my goodness, you could live in bliss the whole time. And not that the first 20 years were that horrible. I don't want to make it sound like that. But we were learning. We were learning how to communicate. We were learning about everything. And we were pastoring, and everything was like simultaneous. And there was times it was really hard. And when it's hard at home, it's hard, period. Right? If you're not happy at home, then it doesn't matter how wonderful your job is and how great other things in your life can be. When you're struggling at home, when you're struggling with your marriage, everything is struggling. Don't you find that to be true? It does to me. If Fred and I are not getting along and we're not right, then I'm just not right. Because the main relationship isn't what it should be, so that just kind of puts me off everywhere. So I want to share a lot of things with you tonight, but I really want your feedback, okay? I'm going to beg you. Just, could you bundle up just a little bit and don't make it too hot?
Just turn everything down.
Because I'm already in a complete sweat.
Yeah.
Just have mercy on me.
Yeah.
So, before we do it, you don't need to put the arrow, Kathy.
I'll just put a heat lover.
It's only 50 degrees out.
I'm not too.
So, thank you. You're done. So, okay, can we pray? Father, right now, Lord, we just submit ourselves to you. I thank you for the word of God. It's quick, it's powerful, it's sharp. It discerns between our very thoughts, our intentions, our motives of our heart. It's the only thing that can separate bone and marrow. It's the only thing that can separate our soul and our spirit. It's the only thing that can help us to see and clearly hear your voice, and then put us back together better than we were before. And I ask you, as we speak about these things tonight, that you would indeed do that for us, I pray. Open up our hearts and open up our ears to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Okay. Who was here Thursday night? Okay. So I want to go back and just kind of talk to you about this again, because this is heavy on my heart. And I think it is so very important. And that's the difference between a biblical marriage and a cultural marriage. Do you understand what I'm talking about? In the church, we are so swayed and swallowed, I think, by our culture, that between my generation and your generation, we're like light years away the way we think in church. And that scares me. Okay? It concerns me, because I'm all for change, but some of the changes that I think that we've made in the church that are alarming to me. That when I was growing up and when I was a teenager, we would never have considered such a thing. And now everybody's doing it. That's how much there's been change. I want to teach you biblical concepts of marriage, and it will go against our culture. Because biblical marriage withstands culture, and it withstands every culture, not just our culture, but every culture. When I was in South America and we were teaching, the women would raise their hands and say, yes, but you don't understand. In our culture, it is acceptable for a man to have a mistress. I said, I don't care about your culture. See, the Bible is greater than our culture. It comes up out, and the culture has to be able to measure up to the standard of the Bible. And if we don't do this, who's ever going to do this? See, if we lower our marriages to the standard of the culture, we will not be light. We will not be salt. And the next generation will get lost because there is no standard of truth. Okay? So on Thursday night, we talked about covenant. Marriage is covenantal. It is not contractual. Do you understand that? When I got married, I said, I do. That means I do even if he doesn't do. That's covenant. That's tough, but it's the truth. You want a marriage that is absolutely heaven on earth? Then when you walk down the aisle, how many single girls here that are not married? Okay? That means that before you walk down the aisle with whomever you think you're going to spend the rest of your life with, you've got to make the decision in your heart. I'm staying married to you for the rest of my life. No matter what happens, no matter what you do, I'm making a covenant with Jesus Christ, and I'm going to stay married to you no matter what. There's no back door. There's no place for me to escape. There's no place for me to go, but work it out. And because of my relationship with him, this will work. If you don't go in with that, I promise you, if you put a back door into your marital relationship, you will use it. Okay? Anybody that's been married for any length of time, I don't care how happy you are, you laid in bed at night and had a moment's thought of, oh my goodness, what have I done? What have I done? Can I live the rest of my life with this man? And if you've already answered that question before, then you realize this is just a vain imagination that's rising itself up against the knowledge of God, and it's got to go. Amen. You'll never entertain it because you've already made the decision before you got married. All right? If you don't want to die, then you should stay single. I'm telling you the gospel truth. Marriage is about 2 funerals and 1 resurrection. I give my life for my husband. I've been giving my life for him for 41 years. I intend on giving my life for him, his good at my expense until I die. That is my plan. So when he costs me, and he costs me, I remind myself, this is what you're here for, to give your life for your husband. I have 3 married children, and they're all great spouses. They all have their own uniqueness about their marriages. And my daughter and I were talking, and I got a little irritated with her husband. I was irritated with him, and she knew I was irritated. And this is my daughter, after all. And she said, "Mom, I'm just doing what you taught us to do your whole entire life." I thought, right. She said, "I'm going to love this man right to the place where he knows the Lord like he's never known him before." And that is what I've taught her to do. Okay, not just through words, but with deeds. And I married a Christian man. Okay, but you'll learn. You grow in the Lord, and as you grow in the Lord, man, there are times that your husband will disappoint you, he'll fail you, but you have such a relationship with God that no matter what, this marriage works. There's a confidence and a security that we're going to make it work no matter what. Okay? So that's very important, and that is against culture. All of your friends in the world, and some of them in the church, will say, if this is not working for you, you need to get out. I'm telling you, get in, stay in for the long haul till the end. What if he turns out to be the worst ever? I'm going to tell you, position is power. We're going to talk about our position in Christ. Your position is power. You stay in the right position, and God will see to it that he takes care of you and your children, because that's what's in the Word, and God loves you more than your husband loves you. God loves you more than you even love yourself. The trust that we have to have in him overrides our natural circumstances, okay? So we talked about biblical and cultural, and that is very important. So my husband's talking to the men now about being the gardener in the garden, and you're the gardener. So I want to talk to you about being the gardener. Okay? Have any of you ever had a garden? How frustrating is a garden? Pretty frustrating. In Florida, having a garden is like nightmare. I tried it for 2 seasons, and I was just ready to pull out my hair between the bugs, and we have no soil, so I have to make compost, and I have to bring in soil and mix it with my compost, because all we have is sand, and it's just so like irritating. And then finally, when I see something growing, the bugs came and ate it, and I'm trying not to put pesticides on it, and I'm trying to do everything natural, and it just is so frustrating. I would stand in my garden and just be so frustrated I could scream. And there are moments that your husband feels that way about you. Okay? Because you have to weed that garden regularly. Right now, my front flower bed in my house is a disaster. I said to my grandson, who's 17 years old, he had a couple of days off at school. I said, "Ben, what are you doing those days?" He goes, "Oh, I have to work, I have to do this." He goes, "Why?" I said, "You want to weed my garden?" He goes, "No." I don't want to do that. Who wants to weed a garden? Nobody. Right? It's so frustrating. Why is it frustrating? Because I just did it. I just weeded that garden like 2 months ago. The soil's got to be right. It has to be watered. It has to be fertilized. It has to be weeded regularly. But you want, at some point in time, when you do all of that, you want to see some produce from your garden. Right? So ladies, you need to ask yourself, you are the garden. We are the garden of God. And he is our gardener. But are you a good gardener, or are you a frustrating gardener? Do you know? What would you say? Because there's only one thing that men can do. I didn't think so. The only thing that men can do is plant seed. They're wired that way. They're designed that way from the Creator to plant seed. place to plant their seed. The gardener needs a place to put his seed, his hopes, his dreams, everything that he has, everything that he's been born with. He needs a place to plant that seed, and that's in the woman that he picks, he chooses to put his seed inside of her, because he can have bazillion, how many millions of zillions of quadrillion seed does men have? It's like, but what good is it if it doesn't land in a womb, in a garden? It dies, and it never brings forth any fruit. Correct? So men are looking for that safe place, that holy place, which is their wife, to put their seed in. And I don't just mean their seed in the natural. I'm talking about their seed of who they are, a safe place to find. That's why in the garden, when God made Adam, he said, this is good, but he needs a helpmate, because he can't do this by himself. And from the very beginning, God designed us as a pair, as a matched pair, as Pastor Fred said the other night. And without a garden, there's no place for him to be safe. So we are the garden, we're God's garden, and he plants his word inside of us, and we are our husband's garden, that he has to plant all of his seed into us, into the womb, so that we can take his seed, his hopes, his dreams, his desires, who he is, and say, here's a safe place for you to deposit your seed, and in this womb, I'm going to do what? I'm going to conceive the seed that you plant inside of me. Okay? I talk to a lot of young girls, and their great struggle is this. What about my dreams? What about what I want to do? What about my career? What about my future? What about what I want to do? So you've got to talk all about that before you get married. Because once you get married, your life is not your own. So you need to have those important discussions before time. Because once you make those vows and you come together, what you're spiritually saying to your husband is, I'm the womb that you've been waiting for, to plant your seed, and I am a safe place for you. To put your, I will guard it, I'll protect it. I'm going to conceive your seed. I'm going to conceive it. How we understand in the natural that when conception doesn't take place, we just shed, right? How much has our husbands been speaking to us about what they desire to do, what their hopes are, what their dreams are, but we shed it every single month because we're not hearing what they say. Because their words are coming into our ears, but they're not really coming into our heart. We're not conceiving what they say. We're not incubating it. We're not growing it inside of us. We're not carrying it and delivering it. And you say, well, why can't they do it? They're not wired to do that. They are not able to do it. That's why it's not good for man to be alone. He needs a woman. He needs a helpmate. He needs somebody that's his counterpart to stand up next to him and be able to incubate and carry the seed within us the way we can only carry it. We're designed to do this naturally, and we're designed to do it spiritually. And I love this concept because we do this with the Word of God. We do this with the promises and the prophetic word. That's why we are natural intercessors. God created us like that naturally, and he created us like that spiritually as well. And so with our husbands, I think that as women, we forgot our role. What's our role? Not just to cohabitate with them, not just to have a companion, but to incubate and be a safe place to carry the seed that is within them and to then deliver it, to bring it to delivery. Okay? There are many times when we have done things. We started the church. He just said, I don't know that I could do this without you. I said, no, it's not possible for you to do it without me. Not because I'm better than you are, but I understand the concept of God put this seed inside of you. You're going to put it inside of me. I'm going to conceive this, receive and conceive this seed, and I'm going to carry it and pray over it and incubate it until we're full grown and we can deliver this thing in the spirit. There are times that men will come to their wives, and my husband, he knows how to hear from the Lord, but he'll come to me and say, what's the Lord telling you? What's God speaking to you about this? Because I'm incubating something. I'm pregnant with this. I'm pregnant with it. Are you pregnant with your husband's hopes and dreams and desires and wishes and cares? Are you praying with it? Because you're his safe place. And so he's going to be a gardener, but we got to be a good gardener. We got to receive that seed. Okay, when he puts his hand in and starts weeding our garden, instead of yelling and screaming, we have to realize there are weeds in our lives. There are weeds, and there are times the gardener has to go in. And you know how I like to weed my garden? I'm like ruthless. I go in there with a hoe, and I start chopping those things and digging up as much ground and as much dirt as possible, because then when I put my hands in, the weeds come out easier, and I shake out the dirt. But think about that as us. Sometimes it's like the hoe is going into us to rip up those seeds, because sometimes we do, our emotions. Okay? Let weeds grow within us that are contrary to the seed that he planted within us. You understand that? Most women I know, there's a couple of them that are not, but most of us are pretty emotional. All right? We get involved in something. How many of your husbands, did you ever tell your husband a story, and does he ever, or maybe my husband's the only one, he stops me and says, can you just tell it to me without the emotion, without all the theatrics, without your voice, like living, do you have to live through it again? And I'm like, yes. Yes. You know, some things I do have to live through again. And there are things that he's learned now. No, you need to let me tell you this the way I want to tell you this, because I need to tell you this. And he's like, okay. And then afterwards he tells me, why do you go through all that? Put yourself through all that. Because now you got to get rid of all that. All that emotion, all that hurt, all that pain, all that hurt, that thing, that's weeds in your life. And he's learned to weed me pretty quickly so that he doesn't have to put the hoe in all the time. But he's the gardener, we're the gardener. So we have to be receptive to the seed of the gardener and the hand of the gardener. Okay? We got to do this with the Lord, and we have to do this with our husbands. Remember, Thursday night, marriage is a mirror image of Christ in the church. It's a mirror image. Christ, our gardener, he has to weed our garden on a regular basis, does he not? And so if we can say, well, I can do this with the Lord, good. If you can do it with the Lord, if you can really do this with the Lord, if you can let the Lord come into your life and weed your garden and take out the stuff that does not belong there, then you will be able to allow your husband to do the same. Now, they don't do it as, nice as God. Sometimes. But you can teach them. Okay? How did I do that? I would say, you know what, Fred? What you said to me was absolutely 100% right. Okay? I received it. But the process of weeding me almost destroyed me. You almost took out all the good fruit with the weeds because of the way that you did it. So you got to figure out a better way to take the weeds out of my garden without devastating the fruit and the productivity that's already there. And communication, and I'm not going to talk to you about communication tonight because you're going to hear that in the video that you're going to watch, but I'm telling you this, communication is to your marriage what blood is to your body. Without blood in your body, you're a goner. Okay? And many of us are having heart problems because the blood isn't flowing through all the chambers of the heart. Many of us have blockages and need stents and bypasses and all this kind of stuff. The communication is not flowing. Okay? It is next to your relationship with the Lord, your level of communication will tell you how big your garden will be, how much your garden will produce, and about your own dreams and your own hopes. If you allow your husband to be a gardener, you will be the largest garden with the most produce, and all of your dreams and all of your hopes and everything you ever wanted will come up out of your garden. Because you have the revelation, he is the gardener in my life, and as he is planting seed in me, I'm going to receive this from my husband as well. And when the gardener sees that the garden is producing, what's it do? What happens to you when your garden produces for you? You're so excited of the fruit. And What's your attitude towards the garden when it starts producing? What's your attitude towards it? You care for it? What else? You love your garden more. Oh my, look at this. I planted squash. Did you see my squash, how big they are? I have such big squash. I have such big, my tomatoes. Look at my tomatoes. They're awesome. When we start producing, the gardener is so filled with delight that there's more love that pours in to the garden again. This marriage is a cyclical cycle. This is it. Okay? So, he's the gardener, but we are the gardener. The seed is plentiful, but without a womb, it's unproductive. So what does God want us to do? He wants us to conceive the seed and carry the seed to full term. Have you ever had to encourage your husband when he wanted to give up? Anybody? Okay? Man, I've had to encourage him, Fred, don't give up now. He said, nothing's working. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything, it's working. You see, he's discouraged because he's working the field, and it's hard. It's my job to incubate that in intercession and prayer. Get the word of the Lord. So many stories I could tell you about his job in the secular world and in the church. How many times, thank God, we both didn't want to quit the church on the same day, and we'd encourage each other. But we'd say, God gave us this. We have to stay here. This is our field. The treasure's in this field. We can't walk away. I would encourage him. He would encourage me. This is what we do. This is what marriage looks like. It's not about your career. It's not about how much you have. It's not about your houses and your cars and all our education and everything our culture says is so important. It's about when you're old. If you're still with your partner in love and your children are around you and your grandchildren, whether you have a lot or little in the natural, you are rich in the sight of the Lord. See, what glasses are you looking through? Okay? So we want to be the garden of God. Amen? Okay. Marriage and family are the exact representation of the heavenly realm. That's why it is under attack. It is the exact representation of the heavenly realm, Christ and the church. The enemy has come in our culture, in the church, to destroy family because it destroys the very picture and the very nature of God the Father himself. Because he said, I'm going to put a man and a woman in the garden, on the planet, and they are going to represent what it looks like with Christ in the church. So the enemy comes and mars that. And then what? There's no picture of Christ in the church or in the world. And that is really what's happening now. So ladies, I want you to honor, respect, and love your husbands. Be a garden that's open and full of producing soil that will bear fruit and form the seed that is in your husband that he deposits in you. Be a life source. Are you a life source to your husband? Does he come to you for life? Or do you squash everything he ever says? Because we have to be a life source to our husband. You have the ability to build your husband up and allow him to fulfill his true purpose, or tear him down and strip him down with no confidence. The power is in your hands. It's in your hands. God gave us that power. We're the garden. So we want to be open to receive that seed, but we want to become a garden that our husbands can walk in and find rest and peace and love and acceptance. This is biblical truth. Okay? The next thing I want to talk about is position, because position is power. And we don't talk about this hardly ever even in the church anymore. I was talking to Sister Kathy about this. These are like things that we don't talk about in the church. Now, when I was growing up, we talked about it all the time. We don't even talk about sin in the church anymore. When I grew up, I heard about sin every single Sunday. I'm not kidding. Every Sunday I heard about sin. I had no qualms. I mean, I knew what sin was. Nobody, it wasn't gray. It was as clear and black and white as ever. I had a conversation with my 17-year-old grandson before I left. And I said to him, do you think that's a sin? He goes, well, I don't know. I said, you don't know? How is that possible? So I had to teach him, what is sin? That's terrible. Well, I know that you think it's sin, but I don't really know that we agree on that. See, that's got to stop. It's not my opinion. I'm just reading the Word. And I do believe the Word. And I believe it is what it says that it is. And I believe that if we live what the Word says, that I don't have to give you my opinion. I have no opinion. It's what the Word says. Now, how I treat those people that are living in sin, walking in sin, that. Now, God tells us to love those people, right? We want to give our life to bring them out of darkness into light. But sin is sin. And we should never wonder, do you think that's a sin? I mean, people ask me, do you think that's a sin? I don't know. What does the Word say? I don't know. That's the problem. We don't know what the Word says. Okay? So I want to talk to you about position. Because our culture says that we are equal in every way, and that they mock that the husband is the head of the wife. You don't actually believe that, do you? You don't actually believe that a woman should submit to her husband, do you? You don't actually believe that's archaic. It's what the Word says. But if you understand, position is power. I am more powerful now understanding these truths than I've ever been before. Because I really am. I don't think because you have a strong personality, you don't have to be a weak, mealy-mouthed woman that keeps her mouth shut, never gives her opinion, never says anything. I'll just be here and do whatever you say, darling. I don't know what that is, but that's not submission. I'm certainly not like that. You probably can tell. Okay? I always give my opinion to my husband. Even if he doesn't want it, I give him my opinion. I do, because we're one. And he always wants it, because he cares what I think about. When we make our decisions, we make them together. If we're not in agreement or I'm really not sure, he tells me, babe, trust me in this. Trust me in this. And I always say, I trust you completely. And we move forward, even if I'm not sure. If he's not sure, and I tell him, Fred, I know that I've heard from God on this. Trust me. We'll say, okay, I trust you. Okay, that's how it works, but there's no doubt my husband is the head, my head. And he could come in and say, we're not doing this, and he has. We're not doing this. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This is why we're doing it, and this is the way we're doing it. When our kids growing up, I'd look at the girls and they'd be like, nope, this is what we're doing. Okay? I would tell the girls, you think this is the wrong decision? Yes, he doesn't understand. Good, get on your knees and pray. Because if by chance your dad made a wrong decision, he'll hear from God. And God will speak to him and change his mind. But there's no other way this decision is going to get changed. But when you understand your decision becomes powerful. Okay? This is by order, not preference. God does not prefer men over women. It's his divine order. Christ is the head of the church, just as Ephesians 5. We read that lengthy scripture on Thursday. Please read it, because it's packed with awesome way to live your life and your marriage. Just like Christ is the head of the church, the husband is the head of the wife. Just as Christ laid down his life for the church, the husband should lay down his life for his wife. How? He nourishes her and cherishes her and washes her with the water of the word. Who's supposed to do that? The husband or the wife? The husband. They're learning it right now. Okay? If you're nourished and cherished, you're going to produce. Your garden's going to start producing. Because we're wired that way to do that. If your husband doesn't do that, it's because he doesn't know what the word says. And maybe he knows what the word says, but he doesn't have a clue how to do it. Because no one's ever taught him. And then, therefore, it's your job to find out, how can I teach my husband this without him knowing that I'm teaching him this, and without him being intimidated by the fact that I'm going to help him learn this. Some of the things, yeah, we taught each other. But sometimes I'd say to him, Fred, you need to learn how to do this. And we would seek people out to help us learn how to do this in our own marriage. See, you have to be willing enough to say, yeah, I want to be that kind of person. So, if we understand this, the lack of it and the short circuits the power that is available through us. And we are designed, and you're going to learn this, and he does a great job, but If you don't know by now, we are as different, men and women are as different as night is from day. We do not think the same way. Okay? Men think in little boxes. And everything is compartmentalized, departmentalized. Okay? Everything goes there. And they've learned to separate their emotions from each situation that they're dealing with and put it in a box in its own compartment. So their minds, everything has its spot. And some are more analytical than others. So probably Ed and my husband have the most straight lines going this way and that way ever, because that's the kind of guys they are. Everything has a box. Everything has a spot. Everything has a place. But women do not think like that. All right? My husband is really smart. He has a high IQ. But he can't really multitask at all. He's very focused. He can only really do one thing at a time. If you try to get him to do two things at a time, he gets really frustrated and irritated, because that's the way he's made. But women, our brains, so men's brains look like little boxes, and our brains look like spaghetti. And you're going to learn this in the video. He does an awesome job. You have to know this, because if you don't, you'll get so frustrated. Okay, so we have our brains are like a mass of spaghetti wires that all have to connect. And when they're connecting and firing, we're just like awesome. We're firing. Everything is connecting. Our electricity is running. We are feeling good about ourselves. Our marriages are good. We got control of our kids. Even if our kids do something bad, we know how to reel them back in because our communication is good. We feel loved by our husbands because the Bible says, husbands, love your wives. Because we are wired, the juice that makes our brain connect and fire is when we feel loved. What do women need? Love, and what else? Security. We need to feel secure. When we are insecure in our marriage, I'm telling you, all of this starts to everything is just disconnecting, and we're just having little fires going off in our brain, and they're like, I don't know what's going on with my wife. She's going out of her mind. No. I'm so insecure. I don't know who I am. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Insecurity causes us to have misfires because God created us that way. We need love and we need security. What do men need? Men need to be respected and honored. And this is the vicious cycle of married life. When you feel unloved, you get insecure. When you get insecure, you feel unloved, you retaliate. And you disrespect your husbands. How? Not at first with your mouths, but with your whole body language and everything about you. You reject him, you stand away from him, you're frustrated with him, and he doesn't have a clue what's going on because he lives in these boxes. And to him, all the boxes are filled. So I don't know what's wrong with her. Because it seems like all the boxes are in place and everything is in order. And I'm telling him, you don't even understand what I'm talking about. He's like, you're right, I don't understand. You have to know that. You have to know that if you don't explain it to him, he doesn't know by himself. This is revelation to some women. My husband should know this. How should he know that? He doesn't think like you. It says in Ephesians, see to it that wives honor and respect your husbands. This is a commandment. Our culture is some of the most disrespectful culture I've ever seen, and I've been in a couple of places in the world. American culture is so disrespectful. Our children disrespect us. We disrespect our husbands. We disrespect authority. We disrespect the police. We disrespect whomever is running for president. We disrespect our pastors. We are disrespectful people. I'm telling you, it's really true. It's not part of our core, but it should be, because the Bible says, wives, see to it that you honor and respect your husbands. This is not a suggestion. My husband don't deserve respect. That has nothing to do with it. Position is power. I don't respect my husband because he deserves it. Why do I respect my husband? Tell me.
The word tells you.
Because I have a relationship that is more important than my relationship with my husband. And the Word of God tells me that it's a commandment to respect my husband. When I respect my husband and he doesn't treat me right, I go right back to my father and I tell him. Dad, I'm doing what the Word says. You gotta help me. I'm respecting this man. You're the only thing I got. You have to intervene. And he intervenes for me every time. 1 Peter, the 3rd chapter. Abraham gave Sarah away to another man to save his own hide. She finds herself in the palace of a carnal, wicked king who wants to take her sexually. And Sarah cries out to the Lord, and God heard her. And in the 1 Peter, New Testament, they recount the story for us women to say, don't adore yourself. You spend a lot of time with your hair and clothes and your jewelry, which is all great. You need to do that. It's important. Okay? But the inner person of the heart, that's what God's really looking after. Because when you find yourself in a treacherous situation, and you wonder, oh my God, how did I get here? How did I get out of this place? Maybe your husband put you in that place. If you have a quiet and peaceful spirit, you can cry out to the Lord, and God gave Abimelech a dream and said, if you touch her, I'm going to kill you and everyone in your household. Do you have that kind of a relationship with God that you trust him enough that no matter what situation you're in, he will step in between and make sure he takes care of you? Because I do. I trust the Lord. It says in 1 Peter, don't be afraid. No whatever frightful thing could happen to you, because of the inner person of Sarah's heart that only God knew, he made sure that she was protected. You see, we have to have that kind of confidence. You, before you're your husband's wife, you are God's daughter, and you must never forget that. Fred got that revelation when we were first married. I mean, we really are very different still, but really different when we first got married. And he was complaining about me to God. And I won't ever forget this because it so moved me. Because I knew what I'm telling you in concept, but I don't think I really believed it. And so Fred came to me one day and he said, Phil, I was really complaining to God about you. And I'm thinking to myself, in a disrespectful way, you ought to hear what I'm telling him about you. See, that's disrespectful. I didn't say that. But, and God hears our thoughts. You do know that, right? So I'm listening, and I'm all, because I'm like done with him, okay? Because I'm just so frustrated with this guy. And so he says, you know what God said to me? I'm like, no. And I'm figuring, okay, here I come, a whole list of things that he's going to tell me that I need to change and things that I did wrong. And I'm on the defense. I'm getting ready to not be nice. And he said, God told me, how dare you speak to me about my daughter that way? I went, oh. Wow. I looked at him, I said, really? God really said that? And I thought, yeah, God really said that because he would never come up with that by himself, right? I mean, how would he ever come up with that by himself? That would never happen. I was so, I'll never forget it. We were just married maybe 2 years, maybe less. I thought, wow, God, you really do love me. Like, I was reading about Sarah and arguing with the Lord. God, how could you even let this heart get too hot? And then I had such an attitude because then after Sarah gets Abimelech lets her go, he blesses Abraham and gives him gold and silver and, cattle and this and this. And God called him a great prophet. I said, you're calling this man a prophet? He did it to her twice. I think God should have zapped him. But he didn't. Okay, there's a relationship here
that's greater than what we've tapped into. And when you understand that my husband is my head, and I submit to my husband, my children are safe. My children are safe. Okay? Because Christ is the head, and then my husband, and then me, and then my kids. And that keeps my children safe. Now, I know I've shared this with you before, and I want to share it with you just for a minute. And we all wear different underwear. Okay? The older I get, now when I was young, like you young girls, Mary, I didn't have to wear anything, but now I have to wear everything. So, I'm not prophesying over you, enjoy your youth. But now we have stuff that pushes you up and squeezes you, gives you a bigger butt, and trims you down. And we have all kinds of stuff, right? This is what submission looks like. All right? So I walk into Dillard's, and I see this black dress that I absolutely have to have. I put this black dress on, and it's one of those dresses that just kind of clings to you. And it's like I look myself in the mirror and I think, good God. I got this roll here, then I got this cellulite over here. And it's like every time I move, it's like all the like fat and cellulite underneath this black dress just kind of moves like it has a life of its own. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't think I was that bad. I didn't think that it was that bad. I'm looking at myself with this amazing dress. Oh my goodness, so what do I do? What do I do? No way, I'm not putting this dress back. I'm not only not putting this red dress back, I'm not going to that other size. Okay? So I take that dress off, and I leave it right there in the dressing room, and I tell the girl, don't touch that dress, I'm coming back. And I go down to the lingerie department, and I'm going to find myself Spanx, a girdle, a push-up, a suck-up, a suck-in, whatever. I am going to gather it all together. I'm going back in that dressing room, and I'm going to squeeze myself into this. Breathing is optional. Then I'm going to put that black dress on. And you know that if you got the right kind of underwear on, that black dress just slid right on me and zipped right up. And when I looked at myself in the mirror, I thought, my God. I said to the girl, I've done this. Go get me a pair of heels anywhere. Take it off the mannequin. And I walk out there in that three-way mirror there, and I'm like, what do you think? She said, you look gorgeous. I'm like, I do. Look at this. This is gorgeous. And do I buy that black dress? Absolutely. I feel so good in that dress now. I feel like I look beautiful. Okay? Huh? Oh, yeah! Are you kidding me? You think I'd ever wear that dress without all that other stuff? Now listen. So you got that picture in your mind? How gorgeous that dress looks now? It is not a bulge. Everything is slim and flat, and all the cellulite and bulges and all the everything is just gone. Thank you, Jesus. I knew I didn't need to go on a diet. I knew that. I just need to wear the right things. Okay. The man is the dress. And you are what's underneath, holding him up, making him look good all the time. Can you do that for your man? Because if you want to tear him down and make him look bad, and you want everybody to see how bad he really is, you're in trouble. You don't love and respect and honor your husband. I can make my husband look good when he doesn't deserve it. The first time we ever did that, we made it. I told Fred, this is a really bad decision. We shouldn't do this. And he was like, nope, we're doing it. I'm the head of this house. We're doing what I said. Okay, fine. And it was a bad decision. And my dad found out about it. We were married, and he looked at me. He said, you guys did what? You know, we told him. And my father looked at me and said, you let him do this? You know better than that. And I looked at my daddy, and I can't believe I said this. I said, Dad, Fred and I made a decision. We'll work out the circumstances and the consequences of the decision that we made. We made the decision together. He said, fine, because I'm not helping you with this. I'm like, I didn't ask you for help. No problem. And we went home and got in the car. My husband said to me, thank you. Thank you. Because you made me look good tonight. And you had an opportunity to say to your father, I begged him not to do this, but he did it anyway. But I want you to do that. Because that would have disrespected and dishonored my husband, especially to my father, which wasn't such a good relationship anyway. You understand what I'm saying? Position is power. That day, I gained power in my husband's heart. He trusted me. He trusted me with his heart, with his lungs, with his insides. See, man is a protector. But what do we protect? We protect the very inside of who he is. His heart is in our hands. His lungs, the way he breathes, we hold them in our hands. And you can squeeze the very life out of your husband and suck the air right out of him by your words, by your attitudes, by not being with him, by not supporting him, by not being there. And you'll make him feel like less than a man. Position is power. Okay? We have to understand our position in Christ. And when I do this, I know that I'm pleasing my Heavenly Father. And this is so important because our culture says it's all about you, do what you want, don't put up with nothing, you should be happy. I cringe. I have counselors that I send people in our church to when they need counseling, and I have vetted these counselors. I mean, I have vetted them. Because there's one thing I can't stand because it's against Scripture. You need to, it's all, think about you. It's all about you. What makes you happy? Once you go that route, your marriage is over. So I should never be happy? No, you should be happy. But once your concentration in your marriage is about me being happy, you're on a road that is getting so far away from biblical truth, it's going to be, you can, but it'll be a hard road getting back. So I make sure that my counselors aren't going to be telling my people, do whatever makes you happy. Because the human natural person, without being God-centered, only cares about what makes me happy. Even at the expense of my husband and my kids and my grandchildren and my parents and things. You know what? I'm 62 years old. It's like, my life is making my husband happy. My mom lives right next door to me. I have to be concerned about my mother. That's my responsibility. She's my responsibility. She's awesome. She can take care of herself. She's awesome. But I'm on the phone with her before we left because it's scheduled tornadoes to hit Florida. Between 8 and 9 o'clock, we never get tornadoes. There's all kinds of warnings. I got a hold of my mother. I said, Mom, you've got to pack up and go to my brother's house. I don't want you at the house by yourself. Oh, I'll be fine. No, I won't be fine. Please, okay? What is it about my life that's about me? Hardly nothing. Between my husband and my mother and my kids and my grandkids and the church and the this and the that, like I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. Why? Because I'm doing what God wants me to do, and my life is about other people. And God sees to it that whatever I desire, whatever I need, whatever I want, He makes sure that it comes my way. You have to have that kind of confidence in the Lord. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, I hold my husband's heart in my hands. I can destroy him, or I can build him up. And I want to build him up. And I want to talk to you too just a second about being moms. Because our culture says this. So what do you do for a living? Well, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Oh, my God. When are you going to go back to work and get a life? That's our culture. You're a stay-at-home mom. You don't go to work. You're kidding me. Listen, I'll be really kind because I don't know you. But when I'm home, I tell our girls, children are the greatest treasure and gift that you will ever have in your entire life. No matter how you get them, whether you plan them or whether they just whoops came. From that moment on, your whole life has to change. I'm very thankful. When I had my daughter and we moved to Florida, I had a better job making more money than my husband did. I was a a dental hygienist in New York. When I moved to Florida, I got a job like instantaneously. And I made a lot of money. He came down and he started from square one. And so, we had this little girl. I had no family, nobody that I knew, and I met this Christian girl, and she said, I need the money, let me keep your daughter. And I thought, okay, we need the money. We can't pay the bills if I don't work. So, she watched my daughter, and I went to work, and Fred went to work, and we did this for about a month. And one night, my husband came home and said, I am so convicted by the Holy Spirit. What are we doing? We're letting a stranger raise our daughter. He said, in a unilateral decision, you're quitting your job. Well, I'm not quitting my job. You're quitting your job. You're staying home with our daughter. I didn't want to do that. Why? Because I was in fear. How will we ever pay the bills if I don't go to work? And I was motivated by that fear. And so I quit my job. I went into my boss and I said, I need to stay home with my daughter. I told the girl that was watching her, you've been doing a great job, but she's my daughter. And do you know statistics say this? Between the ages of 1 and 5, and really they're saying now 1 and 3, in our little children, everything about them and their future is being deposited and molded and shaped in them between the ages of 1 and 3 years old. 1 and 5 at the most. Their vocabulary, the way they see the world, the way they interact with people, the things that they're afraid of, the things that they'll excel at, their abilities in their brain, the way they think, the way they learn, all happens between the ages of 1 through 5. There is nothing more honorable. There is nothing greater on the whole planet than to be a mom. Nothing. Nothing. I don't care what our culture says. So I gave up my job, and I stayed home. And I watched kids in my house, and when my husband came home from work, I left and went and cleaned houses, and I was like you. I'm cleaning houses. I could be a dental hygienist making so much more money, but our child was being cared for by her parents. And I encourage my ladies, and they give me a hard time, and they tell me all their stories, like you're all going to tell me all your stories, and I'm going to tell you the same thing. You only got your kids are only babies for a little while. Okay? Fred worked a full-time 40-hour-a-week job. He told his boss, I need more hours. They gave him 20 more hours a week. He worked 60 hours a week. Then he got a second job, got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and went and cleaned McDonald's and Burger King from 4 o'clock to 6 in the morning, and then went straight to work to make the extra money so that I could stay home and raise my children. I'm thankful for that now. And I got over my fear. And you know what else we did? We took our monies that we had, and we said, what do we need to live on? And we came up with the money we needed to live on, and we started to tithe on what we needed instead of what we had, until what we needed, okay, became a reality. And we tithed. I had no food sometimes, but I gave that tithe check, because I knew I'm sowing seed, and God, this is your word. I'm asking you to open up the doors of heaven for us and pour us out a blessing that we cannot contain, because I know I'm doing what you want me to do. I'm raising my children myself. It's so important. People have asked us, and I know this gets to be like, people have said, please start a daycare at your church. My husband's like, 33 years we pastored, I will never have a daycare at our church on my watch, never. Well, the girls are going to do it anyway. Yeah, let them do it somewhere else. Because our church is, stay home with your kids. Do we know how difficult it is? Yes, we do. Well, it was different then. No, it isn't. It's comparable. It is comparable. There's nothing more awesome than being a mother. Absolutely nothing more awesome than being a mom. Now, do you have to, all three of my girls, my oldest is a nurse, my second is running our whole school and our whole church. My daughter-in-law, she was a teacher in our school, she got pregnant, she quit, she comes into the office 1 day a week. Yeah, I understand, okay? 1 day a week, she leaves her kids with me, she leaves her kids with me. All right, I'm not saying there's no flexibility here for your situation, but your kids got to be primary, and you can't leave them every day from 9 to 5 with strangers. I'm telling you, that's not God's plan. And when people say, what do? Your answer needs to be, I'm doing the best thing that anybody in the world could do. I'm raising my children. Okay, so we have a complete generation that are orphans because they don't know who they are because they haven't been raised by their parents. And so I really want to encourage you with that. Another thing I want to talk to you about quickly is mutual, continual affection and love. And again, you're going to hear some great sex talk. But my husband is my friend. Him and I are good friends. We have become really good friends. He's learning how I think, and I really understand how he thinks. I understand my husband. I can think for him. I do sometimes. I really love him. I love all his little idiosyncrasies that used to make me crazy. Now I just love them. Okay? I honor him. I respect him. He's my friend. But he's my lover. I have a lot of friends. Kathy's my friend. If I need somebody to talk to, there are things I talk to her about that I can't talk to my husband about because he don't get it. When I start to talk to him about it, he goes, why are you all upset about it? I'm like, okay, fine, I'll talk to him. Because she understands why I'm upset about it. And instead of telling me, don't give me any of the emotion, just give me the details, she never tells me that. She lets me, and she never tells me, okay, shut up. She lets me finish. Okay, she's my friend. But she's not my lover. You only have one lover. You have a lot of friends. And all your kids will grow up and leave your house, and then you'll be left with each other. Okay, there is life after children, and it's really important that you cultivate that relationship now. Now. Whatever stage you're in, okay? So, we got this revelation. Our kids were probably 8 and 10 years old. We were full steam in the church. We were busy. He was going overseas. I was having our third child. If we never had sex again, I didn't care. I was so tired. I was just so tired. And after Robert was born, I was running the school. I was leading worship. I had him on a Thursday. I'm telling you the truth. I had Robert on a Sunday night, and the next Sunday I led worship. So I was tired. Now our girls take 3 months off because they had a baby. I'm just like, but it's okay, it's good. And I thought, I'm nursing, I got an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old in the church and the this and the that. And he says to me one day, we have no relation, no intimacy. I feel like a monk. I'm like, really? I don't feel like a nun. I'm just so tired. He's like, no, we have to do something. I'm like, we do. I was just like, and it hurt him that I was so undesirous, I didn't even think about it. He said, do you ever think about sex? I'm like, no. I didn't. I'm just being honest. He said, I think about it all the time. I'm like, they got the sex box here. It blinks. So, I needed to make a major adjustment. We needed to make a major adjustment. This needs to be a priority in your marriage. You have seasons in your life, okay? So you're having babies and you're nursing babies and you have toddlers and you're exhausted. And the last thing you want is to give again, because that's what it feels like. But you have to understand how important that is. And then your kids are teenagers and you're under stress. And maybe you are working then, and you have all this financial stress, seasons in your life. You have sicknesses, you have loss, you have disasters that happen. We have seasons in our lives, and what happens is the strongest relationship we have comes under the greatest stress. If this is not a priority to you, it will be the first thing that drops. And you'll find yourself estranged. So, last time I was here, I told you this. I do have this rule. We do live by it pretty much. There are times that we can't because of our circumstances, but when we come back together, we make sure that we reboot. I have a 72-hour rule. That's 3 days. You go more than 3 days without being intimate with your husband, the alarm should go off. Okay? I talk to women all the time that have intimacy with their husband once a month. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous. I expect to be having intimate relationship with my husband that's at least 2 to 3 times a week until I die. He's older than me, I tell him, don't poop out on me. And there's no way, he's not anywhere close, okay? Now our kids are grown, they're out of our house. How do you do this? We make dates with each other. You make dates to make love? Yes, because if we don't, we'll never do it. Because our lives are too busy. So we make dates. We talk about, okay, what's our week look like? We do this every Monday. What's our week look like? What do we do? And when are we going to have time for each other? Well, I have Tuesday afternoon. What are you doing Tuesday? Tuesday afternoon works. We block it out. What about Thursday? Yeah, Thursday really works. Okay? Don't come to our house in the afternoons. Because if you do, we may not answer the phone because my husband likes to do it in the afternoon now. He's too tired at that. I'm like, okay, fine. It's a little inconvenient for me sometimes, but I make the adjustment. Why? Because every 2 to 3 days, we're intimate with each other. And that has a way of melting everything else away. Okay? So that really serious conversation that I wanted to have with him, I always pick to do it right after that. Because he's all mellowed out, chilled out, happy. And I just say, okay, remember we were talking about this? I really want to talk about this again, babe, okay? He goes, yeah, what did you want? Oh, yeah. Okay, listen, I'm not saying to use it, but it's the way men are built. But if this doesn't become a priority for you, it will slide away and you'll find yourself drifting away. And I tell this to ladies all the time. You think nobody wants you there? You're a fool. You're a fool. And you think he would never look at another woman? Let him be by himself with no intimacy for 2 or 3 or 4 months, where he's feeling so rejected and so disrespected by you, and so dishonored by you, and so uncared for by you. He looks at his garden and he sees no produce and no place for him to put his love or his seed or his opinion or anything. And whomever comes along will turn his head. Okay? It is our job to keep the atmosphere of our relationship alive and full of fire. And I don't like when the embers start to go out. I'll kick it back up again. And do I always feel like doing it? No. But that doesn't matter. This isn't about me. It's about us. It is about keeping that. And when we're intimate and you know, I have to be careful because I pat on Heidi all the time and I do that in public and I do all kinds of things and I let him know, I'm thinking about you, I love you, he loves to be, you know, he loves this. He loves it. I stroke his arm, I scratch the back of his head, and, you know, he loves that. I tell him all the time. It's his love language. So I let him know, I love you, I love you, I love you. Okay, it's really important. Learn your husband's love language. Learn it, that's your job. It's not culture, but it's biblical. Okay, I don't need to learn Tony's language. What's your husband's name? I don't need to learn his either. I only need to learn Fred's, and I have learned Fred's language well. I can speak his language as well as he can speak his language. I've taught my children to understand their father's love language so they get along better with their dad. I've taught my husband our children's love language so he can understand and be a better father to our children. That's our job. Okay? You have questions? Start getting your questions ready. Okay? This is, our position is power. And I really want to just encourage you. We have vision. Do you have vision for the future? And just pass all your questions like to the end of the aisle, and we'll collect them. Do you have vision for your future? When was the last time you and your husband talked about your vision for your family, for your finances, and for your future? When was the last time? Have you done that ever? Okay, vision is important. Listen, without faith, finish this for me. Without faith, it's impossible what? To please God. So if you don't have faith operating in your marriage, you're not pleasing God. But without vision, what happens to you if you have no vision? What does the Bible say? You'll die. Okay? You need to get this in your marriage. We think, oh, this is very spiritual. If you don't have faith operating in your marital relationship, you are not pleasing God. And if you don't have vision for the future, Your marriage is going to die. Your kids are going to get out of the house and you're going to look at each other and say, you're a stranger and I don't even like you. So you'll live separate lives. You'll move into your own bedroom and you'll sleep in your own bed and you'll be cohabitate with each other. And this is not the will of God. Okay? So we want to have faith in our marriages. I have faith for my marriage. I tell my husband, you're going to give me 20 more years. 20 more healthy years. Full of life and full of vigor. Okay? Don't leave me here by myself. I don't want him to do that. I've already invested 41 years into this man. Don't leave me here by myself. Stay healthy. I have faith. I speak life into him. We have faith for our marriage, and we have vision. What do Fred and Phyllis look like in 5 years, in 10 years? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? What's it look like? What are we releasing our faith for? What are we praying for? Without vision, you perish. You hear Pastor Tony saying about the body of Christ. What about you? What about your marriage? What about your family? What about your relationship? You need vision for your house. Because your children will not prosper if their parents have no vision and no faith. My vision now is, and I don't know how this is going to happen, but God knows. The Bible says a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. That's the course I'm on. God, I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to leave an inheritance in the natural as well as in the spirit for my children's children. And you're going to help me do this. We are full of vision. Amen? What if your husband Okay, this question is about doing things sexually that you don't feel comfortable with. You got to talk about what you're going to do sexually, and you have to come into agreement. Okay? So I don't know what he's asking you to do, but I'll just tell you, as Christians, don't be a prude. Okay, the marriage bed is undefiled. I think you should have good, serious discussion with your husband about what it is he wants to do, and talk about it, and get educated about it. And then make a decision together under God. And you should never force each other to do anything that you're not comfortable doing. But you do need to be a little bit open. Okay? When I got married, I was raised in the church, so sex was a sin. Sex is a sin. Everything about sex is a sin. Okay, it's a sin. It's like the worst sin. I was raised in a Pentecostal church. We had degrees of sin. If you have sex, that you go to hell. If you smoked, hell. You drank, hell. You played cards, hell. I mean, we had hell. Straight to hell. You can be a murderer, go to jail, come out, no, that's good. But if you smoked, drank, played cards, or had sex, straight to hell. So, you get married, and all of a sudden everything's fine. They never educated us. They never talked to us. I was like, when I saw my husband on our wedding night, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, you're gonna what? I'm thankful he was older than me and way more experienced, and he was very patient. But that's not a good thing. Your kids should get married knowing full what they're walking into and have a good, healthy understanding of that. But I was just like, everything's a sin for him. Are you sure we could do that? Yeah, Phil, we could, there's more than one way. Are you sure? Is it a sin? I had sin consciousness, especially where sexual things were concerned. So, I'm not sure what he's asking you to do, but talk about it and never be forced to do something that you're not comfortable doing. Okay? Practically, what did you do that got you through the 20 years that were hard? That's a great question. I developed such a relationship with the Lord that he was my refuge and my strength, and I ran into him regularly. I learned to keep my mouth shut. Ladies, don't ever uncover your husband. I never went to my mom and talked to my mom about my husband because, like I said, my parents weren't thrilled with Fred. They wanted somebody saved longer. He was only saved a year. They wanted somebody richer, more put together. And he didn't meet their qualifications. So I got a relationship with the Lord that I can't, to this day, the first 10 years of my marriage made me who I am. And then my husband got a bone disease when we were only married for 5 years. And he was paralyzed from his waist down. And that changed our relationship radically. My husband he's a man, he's prideful about those things. I had to take him to the bathroom, I had to bathe him and dress him and do everything for him for a whole year. And that's either going to make you or break you, and it made us. It really made us. And it changes you, because you get married and nothing bad's ever going to happen to you, because nothing bad happens to us. So I got such a serious, intimate relationship with the Lord that there are times I think back on those days, and I think, God, you were just so real to me then. I could literally put my girls down for a nap and sit on the couch, and it's like the presence of God would just show up. And God loved me through this and taught me what I'm teaching you, because I was desperate to hear from the Lord, because I knew I can never walk away from this, and I am not going to be miserable in a marriage. So you're going to help me. This is what I can tell God. You told me to marry him. God really did tell me to marry my husband. He said, that man's your husband. I would say, you told me to marry him, God. You got to help us. You got a plan that I can't see. You got to help me be Fred's wife. And I concentrated on his love language, how he thought, how I just concentrated on him. Every day I asked God, help me understand him. Help me minister to him. Help me love him. Help me. I only got one man. And God really did this. And he'll tell you, I mean, he's so humble about it now. He'll tell you, my wife taught me how to communicate, and she taught me how to love another human being, because he was really broken. If I knew how broken he was, I wouldn't have married him. He just got saved, but he was a Vietnam vet that was really broken. I had no skills to deal with that. His PSTD, I can never get it out. It was so severe, I didn't know how to deal with that. And God really, really, really led me and guided me. I really did do that the first 20 years. And I didn't talk to very many people ever about my relationship with my husband, because there was nobody in my life that I could talk to back then. God is faithful. God is faithful. How do you... I had glasses, Phyllis. Put them on. How do you deal... Okay. How do you deal with an abusive relationship with a husband and still stay married? Okay. You have to read 1 Peter 3. It talks about that. But if you are in an abusive relationship where you feel like your life is being threatened, and physical abuse to where you really feel like you're being physically abused, or even mental abuse to where you feel like this is tearing you down, you must go seek help in a situation like that. Would you agree with me? Okay? Because many times, if we're in an abusive situation, whether it's verbal or physical, if you live like that, you are encouraging this behavior to continue, and you cannot do that, because it's ungodly. Wives, submit to your husbands as unto the Lord. And so once you move into the area of abuse, whether it's physical or mental, this is not unto the Lord any longer, so you must go get help. And sometimes, you go to your pastors, they'll give you counsel, you go to Christian counselors. Sometimes a short separation is what's necessary to bring clarity to both parties about how they move into the future. So, it says that if the godly wife is married to the ungodly husband, the children are sanctified because of the wife. Okay, 1 Peter, the 3rd chapter, read that. But never stay in abusive relationship without getting help. Now, you can get help and mix it with faith and believe God for the miraculous, okay? Because many times an abusive person needs inner healing for himself about things that he's never dealt with, and issues he's never dealt with in his own life, and that's why this is happening. So with the help that he needs, you can turn everything around. So sometimes that's the bravest and the most courageous thing you can do, is stop keeping your mouth shut and tell somebody, we need help. Okay? How can we support our husband's vision while still reaching our full spiritual potential? You will reach your full spiritual potential, believe me, incubating this man's vision and helping him do what God wants him to do. It'll take everything you have within you to do this. You're going to stretch and you're going to grow and you're going to cry and you're going to cry out to the Lord, and God's going to change you and speak to you and stretch you and grow you till you become the person that you never thought that you could be. What changed me spiritually is when my husband got sick with that bone disease, I was so mad at God. I couldn't believe that God could do this to me. I was a good girl. I did everything right. I followed the rules. I was good. I taught since I was 10. I never did anything bad. How could you tell me marry this guy and you want me to spend the rest of my life with a man in a wheelchair? That was your plan for me? I was mad. And I tell you what, God got a hold of me, and I would not be where I am today if I didn't have that spiritual experience with this man. So whatever you're incubating in your husband, that will be the vehicle that will help you grow spiritually. And God opened up doors for me spiritually that I never would have been able to have opened myself because of walking through that difficulty with my husband. It changed me. My mother said to me one day, I really was a pacifist. I really still am, believe it or not. She said, Phyllis, you became a militant person. Because when Fred got sick, I was militant. My attitude was, God's going to heal my husband, and if you don't think so, then just get out of my way. Don't talk to me. I don't want to hear nothing about what you have to say. We're in the battle of our life, and I'm only going to surround myself with people that are full of the Word, full of encouragement, and will stand with me in faith. If that's not where you're at, then just please go find another friend. I did really do that. And I believe that God surrounded me with people that encouraged me, prayed with me, got in agreement with me. That's why my husband got healed in his body. Okay? We believe the Word. And you need to surround yourself with like-minded people, especially when you're in a struggle for your life. Get every bit of negativity away from you, even if that's your own family. His brother called me and said, you are brainwashing my brother. I'm going to come down and put him in an ambulance and take him up to Columbia University in New York, and we're going to find out what's wrong with him. I said, you are not coming down here. He's my husband. I know what's wrong with him. The doctors can't do anything. The diagnosis of what they want to do is ridiculous. God is going to heal him. Leave him alone. And he just cursed me out on the phone, and I said, Joe, don't call here anymore. And I hung up. Now, we have a great relationship with them now, but it was strained because I was in a fight for my life, and I couldn't afford to have people in my ear that made me feel like a mere man when I'm battling for my husband's life. And I did. It changed who I was spiritually. I became a completely different person. Literally, my kids had no sickness. Not a cold, not a runny nose, nothing. The kids go to school, they all get the flu, they all get this. My kids never got sick because it sounds so bad. But I want to be like, I'd say, don't you dare get sick. Don't you let that germ in your body in Jesus' name. You get in your room right now. This is what I told them. You get in your room right now, and you put on your healing scriptures, and you sit on your bed, and you pray in tongues, and you listen to those healing scriptures, because you will not allow sickness to enter your body. And my little girls would run into their room, and they'd sit on their bed, and they had their prayer language when they were young, and we had cassettes back then, and they put their little cassette, and I had scriptures for the healing, and they'd listen to them, and they'd come out. I'm telling you, we didn't get sick. I was like a maniac. I wish I was a maniac now. My kids didn't get sick. No, they never got, that whole time, they didn't get the flu, they didn't get, no, not in my house. I let sickness in my house one time. It almost took my husband's life. It had never happened again. You know, when he was diagnosed with cancer 5 years ago, I was just like, I am not going through this again. I was just like, that's it. Okay? You rise up in the Spirit, and you speak the Word of God, those things that are not as though they are. And you make a stand and you become unmovable. And don't tell me you can't do that. We are wired to do that. You know, 1 million women, 2 million women, 5 million women were marching. I said to my husband, we are a deadly force. You get us together. It's the truth. Give us a cause and get us together. We could take over the world. All right? We could do this in the Spirit, ladies, and we have to. We are that powerful, okay? We got a clean bill of health, and my husband, I'm so thankful to the Lord I can jump on this table and do a jig. Okay? Was it a process? Yes, it was. But you become unmovable. You believe the Word of God. I live by biblical principles. The Word of God is true, though every man is called a liar. Health is part of my inheritance. It is my covenant right. This is who He says I am. This is what I'm getting. And I would tell him, do you understand this? Because you're not going to die of cancer. Not on my watch. Yeah. And my mom would look at me because I was worse than this, right? And she'd say, "Oh, you scared me." I said, "That's all right, Mom. I'll be all right." So, how bad is it if your Valentine's gift is sex, and that itself is a gift? It's good for me. Is that bad for you?
Say the question again.
How bad is it if your Valentine's gift is sex, and that itself is a gift? Is that itself a gift? It can be. Listen, it's really hard for men to do this stuff. Remember Valentine's Day and all this kind of stuff. So if that's what it is, then I would say receive it and love him and enjoy he wants to be with you. See, change your mind. That's all you're giving me is sex. It works for me. It needs to work for you. You need to receive it as a gift. It's his gift. So if it's his gift, receive it as his gift. Be excited about it, and that'll make him want to go out and get whatever it is that you were expecting to get for Valentine's Day. It's true. I'm telling you the truth. Is there a medicine or natural supplement to suppress a female hormone since I want sex all the time? But he's never home. This is any man's dream right here. It is. This is great. No, don't take no supplement or suppress nothing. When your appetites are different, and our appetites are different at different times, okay? So you need to have a good conversation about your different appetites. And so, you're away, and he comes home on the weekends. You need to have your special time when you have plenty of time to be intimate with your husband to where you feel satisfied, and he feels satisfied, and he can't feel guilty for how you want too much sex. That's absurd. We need to adjust to each other's appetites. We really do. Okay? I needed to make an adjustment. For me, when my kids were small, I never was fun. Well, never did it work. Okay? So we built ourselves up to where we came to a happy medium for both of us, to where we both felt satisfied. So you need a serious discussion about it. Don't take anything to suppress it, because he should be like thanking Jesus every day. That he has a wife that is desirous of him, and then while he's away, you need to ask the Holy Spirit to really help you. Keep your thoughts clear, keep your mind clear, be careful what you watch on television and what you see, and thank the Lord that my husband will be home Friday night, and tell him, you better be ready when you walk in the door. And he shouldn't feel guilty, and you shouldn't feel guilty. This is good. If this is what you have, then work with what you have. Okay? Never suppress the desire for sex. Okay, great question. Who can you go to talk to about your husband human-wise? You have to have people that are absolute safety. So I'm going to tell you, you need to go to your pastors, because they will keep their mouths shut, and God has given us a great gift to forget after you walk out the door. I'm serious. It's the truth. Do not talk to your girlfriends about your husband. You're making a mistake. Don't talk to your family, because they're your family and they love you, and you'll make up with him and they'll hate him. Okay? Don't ever do that. I've had when I was young, before I was married, my pastor's wife at the time told me something about their intimate life. I was only 20 years old, 19 years old, and I loved my pastor. But she told me this thing, and I couldn't even look at him in church anymore. I couldn't receive the word from him. It wasn't bad. She was just unhappy, and in her immaturity, she just, told me how unhappy she was with him. It so pricked my heart. So you have to go to safe people. So I would suggest you go to your pastors, or you go to, if you need counseling, then you go to a counselor. But you can't uncover your husband to your friends or even to your family. I don't know, even if I'm really, really disgusted with him, I don't usually, I don't know, I'm pretty careful about that. This is my husband, I love him. Only I'm allowed to talk about him. Nobody else. Okay, so if I tell you how disgusted I am with him, then you might say something bad. Like, oh yeah, I noticed that about your husband. Well, now I know. Okay, so it's dangerous. So I would really, really encourage you strongly to go to your pastors, and your pastors will be able to direct you to someone if you need more help than that. Okay, what is a love language, and how do you learn your husband's love language? There's an awesome book called The 5 Love Languages. You need to get it, you need to read it, you need to figure out what yours is, and then you need to figure out what his is, and it gives you little guidelines, and it's very, it's not complete and exhaustive, you know what I mean? Like Fred and I, we kind of fit in between kind of things. But it gives you a good enough track to run on. What that means is, I'm going to figure out what makes this man tick and how he thinks. And we do speak a language. And my husband has learned to speak my language. And my language is not his. I'm a quality time, get in my face and talk to me, and I bear your innermost being. And he doesn't like to do that. But he does it for me. Okay? My husband is an acts of service person. When I do it, but he says, will you do this, and this for me? And if I say yes and don't do it, we have a problem. So, I learned, because I used to say, oh yeah, I'll do that, and then I didn't do it. And I thought, well, what's the big deal? I'll do it tomorrow. But it was a big deal to him. Not the service, but the fact that I gave my word and didn't keep it. And I thought, I didn't give my word. I told you I'd go pick up your laundry, and I didn't pick up the laundry. What's the big deal? But it was a big deal to him because he said, are you able to do this tomorrow? And you said yes. So when you said yes, I figured I don't have to worry about this because she's going to get it done. And you didn't get it done. You didn't keep your word. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Okay, because that wasn't important to me. And I learned this is so important to my husband. So I learned his language and he's learned mine. And that is so very, very important, not only for your husband, but for your kids as well. Yeah, this is tough, but here you are. So you marry a man who's not born again, and you really have a desire to serve in the house of the Lord. So how do you balance that balancing act? Okay? So you need to explain to your husband, these are the things that are important to me. It's not about church. It's like what's important to you, because you got to meet your husband at the level that he's at, not at the level that you're at, because then you'll be speaking a different language to him. So a man that is not coming to church with you, who doesn't have the same passion for God, or might not even be saved, you've got to learn how to speak to him about your desires on a level that he can understand it. So I would not use any Christian language like, the kingdom of God and serving in the house of the Lord, because you don't understand that. So you know how this and that is really important to you, and I let you go, and I let you do that. Yes, well, this is important to me. And I need you to let me do what's important to me, like I let you do what's important to you. And I need you to support me in what I do. Okay? And you need to have that kind of real heart-to-heart talk with him. And a lot of men sometimes feel like the church is the other man in their wife's life. And so it's a real balancing act sometimes, to where you really, see, this is where communication, ladies, your blood, this is where the blockages come in the heart, because you really need to learn communication skills. One skill, the most important skill in your whole marriage is communicating. That is the most important skill that you have. Learn to communicate with your man, not my man, yours. And find ways to reach his heart to where he really can understand what you're trying to say and where you're coming from. And you might have to make compromises if your husband's not saved. You can't go to church 4 nights a week. It's not going to work. He's going to find that very threatening. Okay? So you have to balance what you really want to do, what's really important to you. I have to do this with my husband about church. I really do. I really do. He tells me, you say yes too much. You're never home. I want you home. He was the pastor of the church for 33 years. He would tell me, you're saying yes too much. I don't want you to do all that. I want you home with me. And he was the pastor. So this could be an issue even in the church when your husband is in the church with you. We've got to balance this stuff, okay? And if you tell him, so we're going to sit home and watch TV for 5 nights because you don't want me to go, you got to talk like, I don't want to do this for 5 nights in a row. This is my desire. I want to do that. Okay, so you have to have that real deep communication with him. But if he's unsaved, then you need to speak in a language that he's going to understand. My husband, he loves riding his motorcycle. And he rides his motorcycle every Saturday morning before home with his buds, and they go nowhere. They just ride for hours nowhere. And they love it. And they come home. And it's good. Okay? So I use that. I tell him, you see how you get on your motorcycle and you ride for hours and you go nowhere? And you see how fulfilling, how you need that? It helps your soul. It quiets your spirit. You hear from God. I need that. And he's like, oh, I get that. He's in the motorcycle box. You have to speak a language that he understands. I hope that answers your question, because that really is the truth. Okay? I think that's
maybe the last one.
I think this is the last one. I think I answered them all. Okay? So ladies, thank you so much. Listen, I want to leave you with hope. And I want to leave you with vision and with faith. I don't care what situation you're in tonight. God is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all you could even ask or think, according to the power that's working in you. And you forgot what great power is working inside of you. We have the power of the Word. God loves you. He loves you more than your situation. He loves you more than your husband. You're his daughter. Go talk to your daddy. Talk to him. Talk to your father. He will do for you. He'll tell you what to do. I would tell my husband, I would threaten him. You know what? I've had it with you. I'm going to go talk to God about you, and he's going to deal with you directly himself. And I'd walk out and slam the door. I wasn't, but it worked, And I was serious. I'd get in my room, I'd get on my knees, and I'd say, God, you got to talk to this man. And guess what? He did. He actually did. And he would come back. God really spoke to me. And now it's our joke. Now I'll turn him over into the hands of the Lord. If you're going to be so obstinate you can't even hear what I'm saying. All right? So, release your faith. You need to have faith and vision in your marriage. Okay? Faith and vision and communicate. And have good sex. If you just got that, you did good. Okay? Listen, it's worked for me for 41 years. We really are in love with each other. We really make this work. Okay? So bow your heads. I want to pray for you. Father, in the name of Jesus, I'm asking you that every woman in here has a measure of faith. Everyone. And I'm asking you right now to increase that measure of faith, especially in the area with their husbands. I'm asking you to do the impossible. All things are possible to them that believe. I'm asking you to do the impossible for these women. Without you, God, they feel like they have no hope and it will never work. But with you, all things are possible, even this thing, even this husband, even this marriage, even this relationship. I'm asking you for faith to arise inside of these women in the name of Jesus, and for vision to come to them. As they put their heads on their pillow tonight, give them vision for the future. Show them what you see when you look at them. Let them see themselves as you see themselves, you see them, Lord. And let vision arise and bless their children, that their children and their grandchildren will be blessed. I thank you. I cover these women. I wash them with the water of the word.